I'm struggling rifling, I'm peeking and always losing that 1v1. I'm trying to clutch and then you start shooting the wall instead. Well, no worries. I'm here with a rifle guide about when to buy, how to control the recoil of each gun, the damage modules, and the win condition against other firearms. So how do you play with different rifles against different guns, especially how do you play it against other riflers. And that way getting an edge, hopefully carrying, improving, and getting better at the game, and therefore enjoying Valorant so much more. Now, of course, if you like this video, I'm a small YouTuber, so liking the video really does help out against the algorithm and so on, promoting me to everyone else. And on the screen right now, there's a cheat sheet. This cheat sheet essentially has the damage module. I made this in Photoshop. It took way too long time to create this, but this has the damage module of every single gun. How many body shots, how many headshots you need against armored and unarmored opponents. Unarmored being the white text and armored being the orange text. Now, of course, you can share this around, spread this to the community. That way everybody kind of gets a nice chunk of information about at least the damage of each firearm, so they know their win condition with that. But of course, it's important to watch videos like this and testing it on a fire range, because even though some of these look really busted on paper, it really depends on stuff like the spray patterns, how accurate they are, and so on. So, with no further ado, let's start at the top with the Bulldog. This rifle costs 2100, meaning it's the cheapest rifle in the game. It's 800 cheaper than the Phantom and the Vandal, and it's significantly more expensive than something like the Spectre. So this is kind of like if you don't want to buy the high-end SMG and you kind of want to transfer a little bit into rifles because, for example, you have the extra cash, you don't have enough to buy Phantom, you don't have enough to buy Vandal, but you want to still lock down some of these longer angles. The Bulldog is exactly what this is good for. It deals essentially 3 body shots or 1 headshot against unarmored opponents, enough to take somebody down, or if they're wearing armor, it's 5 to the body and 2 to the head. Now, this is the spray pattern of the Bulldog. As you can see, it goes up, then to the left, and then to the right. The initial 3 first bullets are incredibly accurate, and therefore, that is one of the really, really strong things with this gun. You can get 3, without control of the recoil, you can get 3 first bullet. The 3 first bullets are practically directly on target every single time. Now, after that, you need to reverse the recoil of the gun. For those of you who have never played Counter-Strike or are not comfortable with how to learn and control spray patterns, this gun goes up to the left and then to the right. Then you need to move your mouse down to the right and then left. So you need to just reverse whatever is on the screen. It's quite that simple. Now, the Bulldog also, and one of the main features, is its scoped mode. You fire a 3-round burst, which is incredibly accurate. And it's one of the really good things with this gun. Now, it costs 2100 comparatively to the Vandal or the Phantom's 2900. However, if you play with the Phantom, you can one-shot to the head only at very specific close ranges. The Phantom can not one-shot to the head at longer distances. So if you're playing against a Phantom and you have the Bulldog, if you keep some of that distance, you actually had a fair fight if you're targeting headshots. And some would argue that you actually had a better advantage in certain situations, even though your fire rate is slow. One, because you can stay at a further back, scope, and fire 3 burst round straight really fast into the head of your opponent, absolutely leading them. Using this gun to lock down some of those longer sidelines are really, really effective, especially against a gun like the Phantom, because you will reduce their headshots so they are at an equal footing. They can kill you a little bit faster with body shots, but that's the only thing. And because you can fire a very accurate 3-round burst, you can get that 3 rounds straight off and either unpeak or hopefully got them deleted already. Now, talking about deleting people, let's talk about the Guardian. This is 2700, meaning it's only 200 cheaper than something like the Vandal or the Phantom. But this gun, compared to the Bulldog, is not looked upon as like a budget rifle. This is just a different rifle for very different scenario. Now, you kill somebody with 2 to the body or 1 to the head if they are not wearing armor, or 3 to the body, or still 1 to the head if they're packing armor. Doing that, this is 1 tap to the head at any ranges. And it's semi-automatic. Comparatively, so the fire rate is much lower than some other guns, but the accuracy of this gun is really, really good. That's why a lot of people like to use this, because the recoil is not really there. If you can tap double, kind of shoot 2 bullets right after each other in like this burst of 2 bullets, and it doesn't affect recoil unless you are at very large ranges. And if you are at these very large ranges, you can have a consistent tap fire rate that actually is really, really good and keeps it accurate, but still does the fire rate is not slowed down that much. Meaning against unarmored opponent, you can just double tap as fast as you can, straight to the body and take them out. Against longer ranges, or especially against armored opponents, you just lining it up with the crosshair, slowing down your fire rate with this gun. That's the important one. A lot of people panic and shoot too fast. Slowing down your fire rate and sending the bullets at head height will normally end up you deleting somebody. But of course, because it's semi-automatic, there's not that many bullets down range, you do need some aim. With this, and you need to have some form of trigger discipline and reaction time, which is the kind of the caveat of this. It's a really high skill ceiling on the gun, but if you start using it correctly, you can really start fucking people up. And even not, as long as you are playing against opponents and you are making sure that you're slowing down your fire rate, you can still destroy them, even if you're not a headshot aimbotting clicking machine. Now, if you want to play this gun, don't play it at close quarters. Try to use it and pick it in a situation where you know that longer line of sights, and playing those longer line of sight and keeping those distance, meaning when you're rotating, you don't rotate as close to walls, you keep the distance and rotate far away from the door, so you get as much difference in range between you, so you don't go into something that has a phantom, or somebody that has a specter, or even somebody that has a bulldog or a vandal, and you end up in this range where they are hard peeking you. On top of that, swinging on people with this gun, it works really well if you have the aim, but it can be more difficult. Swinging essentially means that you strafe out into the lane and start shooting, and that can work, but it can also be very difficult, as it has such a slow fire rate that it's a little bit more, the damage output, if you miss a shot, it's far more punished than somebody like a phantom, which has incredibly fast fire rate, and if you miss the first bullet, you just spray control over to your opponent after that. So you can play this a little bit more with locking down angles, but don't be scared of going aggressive with it if you're comfortable with it mechanically, because again, it one taps to the head, it has decent and good spray control, and it's really nice for those longer line of sight denials and just being an absolute aimbot clicking head machine. Now we go over to the Phantom, and this is the gun that some people seem to enjoy. I would like to hear from you guys in the comment section. Do you like the Phantom? Do you like the Vandal? Which one do you prefer? Fuck the stats, ignore the stats and so on. Which one are you most comfortable on? Which one do you like picking the most? If you had to play with one gun the entire game, which one would that be from a straight like recoil pattern and comfortability mode? Now, the Phantom normally does 3 to the body or 1 to the head. If they're not wearing armor, you need 4 to the body or 1 to the head if they're wearing armor, as long as they are close enough. If they are at a longer distance, as talked about, the Phantom will not one shot to the head. You will need 2 shots to take somebody down, similar to the Bulldog. This is the fast firing rifle, and that's what it's used for. You normally pick this if you know you're going to play a little bit in these closer, tighter angles where you will need that extra fire rate. That's normally when this gun is picked over the Vandal. Now, the recoil pattern goes as followed. As you can see, the first, very similar to the Bulldog, the first 3 are almost on point immediately. Right after that, you follow up with 2 more, which barely requires any recoil compensation. I mean, the 5 first shots are very easy, but just pulling slight down on your mouse, they are very easy to control. After that, it goes left and then right with a decent spread. And this is relatively easy to control. All you need to do is the 5 first, which you just need to practice by just bursting on a screen so you get used to firing 5 bullets, 5 bullets, 5 bullets, and controlling those 5. That is your accurate first engagement push. And after that, you just need to move down right and transition over to the left side. And that way, you should be able to control with relative ease the Phantom. Now, this is a really, really good gun. I personally like it a lot. I use this for most of the situations because of how the map is built out. I like this gun, even at the longer ranges. However, when we start transitioning into me knowing that, okay, I'll be playing at a longer LOS, I'll be playing this long sideline for a lot of the map, you normally transition over to the Vandal. And that is the Vandal's pick phase. You normally pick the Vandal because of its, yes, it has a higher recoil, it has a slower fire rate than the Phantom, but because it headshots at any range, doesn't matter. As long as you hit the head, you took him down. So the fully automatic Guardian, essentially. Just that this has far more difficult recoil control. The Vandal spray pattern goes as followed. As you can see, it's still the same. It goes up, left, right. However, the jump in vertical recoil is significant. The first 3 burst is on point, followed by 2 that jumps pretty high, then a 6 that jumps very high, and then the spray happens at this very top. If this is a target, you need to aim and put your crosshair a lot of time at like the lower parts of somebody's torso to get that spray in head height. And the kick between left and right on that horizontal spray is much wider than some of the other rifles. And therefore, it can be relatively difficult for a lot of people to control this gun. However, again, you pick this for the longer range engagements, which sometimes does that you have to fire at a slower rate, maybe tapping away, fire at those very short 2-3 round bursts at their opponents, and then learning the spray control over time. This gun is very, very powerful. But again, you pick this over the Phantom if you know you need that distance, you know you need that range for headshot multipliers, and then you pick the Phantom when it comes to these closer fights. When you know that you're gonna swing, you're gonna be playing at these closer ranges, you want that fire rate. Not just because it's high damage output, but also because the more bullets you put down range, the higher chance of one of those actually being a headshot it is. I like to call that the Rainbow Six Siege mentality. Now, in the very end, how do you actually practice all of this kind of stuff? How do you improve accuracy? There's 2 ways. Number 1 is what's known as aim training. This is to give you mouse control. Mouse control is essentially the fact that if I tell you that you need to pull down and then pull left and right, and you can see, okay, yeah, I need to you can see the distance and you know the spray pattern in your head. Mouse control is actually being able to physically do what you want to with that mouse. Move the mouse as precisely as you want. Now, this is achieved normally by doing some form of aim trainer and just playing the game, of course, but some form of aim trainer. I use Aim Hero. I know a lot of people like to use Kovacs, but I cannot vouch for that. I can only vouch for Aim Hero. It's like €5 or $5 or some bullshit on stream. It costs barely anything. And I want you to go in and play Aim Hero for about 5 to 15 minutes a day. That is more than plenty. You play that, and when you do it, you play it slow. It's about having high hit rates, not high scores. Of course, push your limits. So if you are low, if you see that, okay, I'm playing fast aim, for example, and I'm playing that, I'm getting 100% hit rates, then start speeding up a little bit. But you shouldn't go, like, when you start, like, hitting, like, the 80 mark, 80, 85, that's when you know that you're starting to go a little bit too fast because you're missing a little bit too much. Now, after that, I highly recommend that you go into the Valorant practice range. Of course, playing the game is more important than that, but if you have time, I highly recommend you take just, like, a little bit of time to practice with some rifles. And you don't need to practice with all of them. Practice with 1, practice with 2 if you don't have the time, and focus on this. Do, like, a couple of rounds with spray control. There's like 4 or 5 mags into just disc. Maybe move it up to like 10, 20 feet away on the dummy, and then shoot at the dummy, and make sure that you get a high hit rate on your magazine. And after that, just start shooting, spawning in some armored opponent dummies that's then completely still, and start tapping away at those. Maybe add some strafing if you found it too easy to tapping away at these. And if they're standing completely still, that is where it's really good to practice some of that spray transfer, because at that point it's no longer just about keeping it center, it's about keeping your crosshair center, or the bullets coming where you want them to, while you are also aiming from one opponent to another, and also making all of these bullets hit head height. So taking out a magazine and then picking a target, spraying him down, and then transferring onto different dummies, and don't randomize it. Pick a dummy that you want to kill, and then try to transfer your bullets onto that guy. And if you didn't transfer them fast enough, or you didn't transfer them at all, then you know that you did something wrong, even though you start shooting dummies around them. The issue with some of this practice range is exactly that the dummy stands very, very tight and very close to each other, so you need to kind of start picking out a target so it becomes consistent. But again, I highly recommend you doing this slowly. Start controlling the burst, the first initial couple of bullets. Start controlling those. Start aiming at head height. Start doing these kind of things, and then slowly but surely advance your aim. You won't get good at this over the night if you don't have any experience prior. I highly recommend that you take your time. This can take over a month of you practicing days before you start really seeing high results. But normally after a couple of weeks doing aim training every single day, and then using all these weapons on the side, normally you start seeing pretty good results. I also highly recommend you start looking into maybe getting a wrist support. This can be an issue if you start doing a lot of aim training. Sometimes I do half an hour to an hour aim training a day, and that can start becoming an issue for your wrist if you're doing that plus gaming, plus if you work like me, I work with IT and programming, you see a lot with a computer. So investing in a wrist support can put so much stress out of your life and so much strain away from your wrist, keeping them nice and healthy. So I highly recommend potentially looking into buying a wrist support. It's not that much. It's like $20 if you live in Norway, $20, $30, at least in Norway. Norway's price is also very high compared to other countries, so I assume that in your country you can find something probably cheaper. Investing in something like that really does help out in the long term, so you take care of your body. Now, of course, then like, comment, subscribe if you like this kind of content. It really helps out. Our amazing gaming community is linked down in the description on a Discord link. Join us, be a part of the awesomeness. I hope I see you guys there, together of course with my Twitter and my Twitch. Besides that, guys, please do take care of stuff. I love you guys very, very much. Stay inside, wash your hands, stay healthy. As always, guys, my name has been Jonal, and you guys keep the enemy in your crosshair.